Chair now recognizes the next speaker, the Honorable Jinky Luistro. Ma'am, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wish to commend the very passionate interpellation conducted by the Honorable Fernandez. However, Mr. Chair, I lament that the Filipino people who are viewing us right now may not be understanding the significance of this inquiry. So, while I do submit that this is a very technical matter, I hope everybody will exert the necessary effort to laymanize in the same way that Yusek Garin did during her presentation. So before I proceed to my interpellation, Mr. Chair, I wish to request Yusek Garin to please enlighten the public. Ano po ba ang kahalagahan ng National Grid Corporation of the Philippines sa pagtaas ng presyo ng kuryente dito sa ating bansa? Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Yusek Garin.
As a transmission by itself, kasi yun yung nagko-connect, di ba? So kada parte ng electricity natin, may charges yan. Generation, transmission, and then distribution. So, ang generation, halos 50% yan. Transmission is a small amount. I don't know if it's 10%, ma'am. I'm not sure. I think even less. But ang importance is not just the charges. The charges can still be lower kung ayusin siguro yung mga taxes or yung pag-pass on nila ng yung costing nila, no? But the more important impact of a delayed project is, halimbawa magpagawa ka ng, Mr. Chair, paggawa ka ng bahay. If you do it in 2010, it's cheaper rather than doing it in 2020. May inflation, umaakyat din yung presyo. And that's what's the impact is to our households. Dahil mas mahal ang presyo ng proyekto, depende kung how ERC would treat that for their cost recovery. Pero nagiging mahal yung presyo, nagiging mahal din yung charges. And at the same time, other than the cost, yung capex niya, yung cost ng pag-build mo ng transmission, is yung ano epekto niya sa other players. You have two sides eh. May generation, tapos kung sino nagkukonsumo. So sa nagkukonsumo, I think IMAP and Transco can explain that better kasi sila yung nagbabantay ng presyo eh, and they monitor the market. But on the generation side, halimbawa, there are projects na tapos na siya, ang epekto, and it cannot sell the electricity because it's not connected to the grid. Some generation companies actually build their own transmission na lang. So it's costing also our generation rates. So as a transmission by itself, their own charges, maybe the impact is not as big as we expect, no? Pero ang epekto ng instability of the grid has an effect on the distribution, on the demand side and the supply side, ma'am.
In other words, Yusek Garin, is it correct to say, for the viewing Filipino people, pag mataas ang cost ng transmission, mataas din ang presyo ng kuryente. And that is the reason why we need to regulate the operation of the Ngcp, which is responsible for the national grid. Tama po ba, Yusek Garin?
Yes, yes, Mr. Chair. If it is in fact, I would go further. If the project is delayed, then umaakyat din yung presyo. So that's the effect to our people, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. To proceed, Mr. Chair, there are two
Mr. Chair,
important...
just point of information, with the indulgence of our Congressman Luistro. Point of information lang, just one quick lang. Para kasi we're talking about the layman's po, no? Maraming nanonood sa ating mga Pilipino. Kasi mukhang medyo yung sabi na tumataas ang presyo ng kuryente. Transmission is only 10%. Ang generation ng malaki, almost 50%. So when we say that, na tumataas ang presyo because of delay of transmission, mali naman yun. So, nanonood, kasi mahirap, baka mga tao aasa. So, ang totoo niyan, generation ng 50% and transmission only 10%. Kahit tumaas sila, konti pa rin, it's minimal, no? So, generation, I just want to put it in context,
Mr. Chairman, that is a misconception. Huwag natin lituin
Thank you
ang
very
ating-
much,
Mr.
Honorable
Chairman,
Presley De Jesus.
if I may allow.
The floor is still with the Honorable Luistro.
May I be
So
allowed to,
I don't think we're not here
interject?
to negate each other. But these are questions and these are answers given by resource persons. Let's take it as this and let us discuss that in a
Apology, Mr.
committee
Chairman.
level, okay?
Apologies.
But we're not here to, so we're not supposed to be arguing with each other. So it's clear that the answer is transmission definitely has an effect in the increase in the cost, regardless of the percentage. The argument is, meron bang increase pag ang transmission? The answer is yes. The Honorable Jinky, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To proceed, there are two important constitutional provisions which must be raised pertaining to public utilities. That includes the NGCP. One is the ownership, that the same must be 60% Filipino-owned and 40% may be allowed to be foreign-owned. May I ask the NGCP, did you comply with this constitutional provision?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. And the second important constitutional provision, Mr. Chair, is that the executive and managerial officers should be Filipino citizens. NGCP, did you comply with this constitutional provision? Yes or no?
Yes, Your Honor.
Having said that, Mr. Chair, I wish to raise the information I gathered from the reports and various documents. First, based on the 2024 GIS of the NGCP, the chairman of the same is a certain Guang Chao, a Chinese national. Does the NGCP confirm this?
Please reply.
Your Honor, we'll have to refer to our GIS for that.
Yes, where's the GIS? You have a copy.
The name Zhu Guangchao, described as Chinese, is designated as chairman in the 2024 General Information Sheet of the NGCP. Having said so, because the same is indicated in your document, do you maintain your position that the executive and managerial officers are Filipino citizens?
Please reply, NGCP.
Your Honor, based on our general information sheet,
Please speak closer to the microphone. Speak
I-
louder.
Mr. Chair, with all due respect, but I believe that the question is answerable by a yes or no only.
Yes or no? Attorney San Diego, ang pagbabasihan lang po GIS, ha? Yes or no?
the chairman of our board is Mr. Su Guancho.
Okay, Chinese. Okay. Yes, yes. The answer is
Are you saying that you complied with the constitutional provision that the executive and managing officers should be Filipino citizens only, considering that your chairman is a Chinese citizen?
Yes, Your Honor, our executive and managers are all Filipino.
How do you consider a chairman of NGCP? Is it not a managerial or executive position?
Your Honor, Mr. Suagwanco is a chairman of the board of the directors, but our executive officials and officers are all Filipino.
We take note of your answer, but this representation sadly believes otherwise. For this alone, it is my humble submission that the NGCP violated this constitutional provision. Second, Mr. Chair, there are other executives which were disclosed in the records of the NGCP. Leo Zhao Yang, described as Assistant Chief Technical Officer. Leo Sin Ju Wan, described as Chairman of Board Audit Committee. These two officers are responsible for hiring employees and signing contracts with them. Having said so, Mr. Chair, may we hear from the NGCP, are you still maintaining your position that executive and managerial officers are Filipino citizens? Liu Zhaoyang and Liu Xinju are both described as Chinese citizens.
Your Honor, we maintain that all our executives and officers are all Filipino. But Your Honor, if I may, I have been looking at our GIS, but the mentioned names were not here in the 2022 GIS of NGCP.
In the what?
GIS of NGCP.
Mr. Chair,
What?
we will be flashing some documents on the later part of the interpellation showing these names, including the others who participated in the operation, most especially the technical aspect of the NGCP. Another significant name that I came across with is Wen Bo, Chief Technical Officer. And he is described as well as a Chinese citizen, Mr. Chair. And with that, I wish to manifest, without asking anymore the NGCP, that the operation is participated not only by Filipino citizens. Proceeding, Mr. Chair, I want to know more about this NGCP, so I wish to ask the NGCP, sino-sino po ba ang mga miyembro at ibang officers ng NGCP based on your GIS? May we request the Secretariat to please flash the 2024 GIS. NGCP, please. Of course, the document confirms Zhu Guangchao as the chairman of NGCP. And in addition to this Chinese national, we have also number 8, Yao Yusheng, Wang Lijin, Liu Xinhua. Although their positions are not indicated in this GIS. Proceeding to our GIS on stock holdings, Mr. Chair. Kindly flash the next slide. The GIS on stock ownership. There is one corporation here, Monte Oro Grid, which owns 27.23% of its shareholdings. Another corporation, Kalaka High Power Corporation, which is 27.23%. Third corporation is State Grid International Development Limited. That is 36.30%. Plus the 4 Chinese individuals who owns 1% each of its stock holdings. From the face of this general information sheet, Mr. Chair, it appears indeed that the Chinese ownership is 40%. However, with all due respect to our esteemed colleagues, I wish to agree to the honorable members who insisted on requesting for the GIS of the corporations who own shareholdings as well, in order to find out the extent of Filipino ownership, as it might affect as well the requisite ownership as imposed by the Philippine Constitution, and that is, to be specific, 60% Filipino-owned and 40% foreign-owned as may be allowed. And therefore, let this representation reiterate the earlier motion to Sestecum for the submission of the GIS of Monte Oro, Calaca High Power, and if possible, the State Grid International Development. That is, if our intention indeed is to find out if there is full compliance with the requirement of the Philippine Constitution. Another corporation which GIS we want to request, as earlier requested, is the Synergy Grid Development Philippines, which owns 9.24% of the stock holdings of NGCP, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I want to go back to the 60-40 ownership. While I do acknowledge that the remaining 40% of the stock holdings may be foreign-owned, I just want to satisfy my curiosity. Considering the significance of this public utility corporation, NGCP, ang tanong ko po, NGCP, wala na po bang ibang Filipino citizens interested to own that 40% which currently belongs to the Chinese nationals?
Your Honor, we do not have any knowledge or aware of it.
May we know, NGCP, the primary reason why the NGCP preferred or allowed or opted to have this 40% be owned by Chinese citizens? Because the possibility, Mr. Chair, is that there are Filipino citizens or corporations as well who might be interested during that time, 2008, to acquire this 40% stock holdings of the NGCP. But as we can see from the GIS, that 40% is currently owned by State Grid of China Corporation plus the 4 other Chinese nationals. Pasensya na po, but you are representing the NGCP, so I wish to believe that somehow you are aware bakit po ang naging preference ng NGCP is to have this owned by Chinese nationals.
Your
Yes,
Honor,
ma'am.
may I be recognized? Your Honor,
Please.
NGCP, Mr. Chair, was incorporated after the consortium of its stockholders won the 25-year concession in an open public bidding held by PISAM. As required by PISAM's bid documents, then, Mr. Chair, all prospective bidders had a technical partner all prospective bidders should have a technical partner with proven expertise in transmission systems. Since the National Transmission Corporation, Transco, was the only transmission expert in the Philippines at that time, the technical expert is necessarily foreign, Mr. Chair. So to respond to the question,
Mr. Chair, the NGCP made mention about technical partner. Can we please expound on this? What specifically did we anticipate from our Chinese counterpart when you said we need the technical partner?
Your Honor, technical would include the operation of the transmission systems.
You said operation?
And as well as the systems operation, Mr. Chair. So transmission systems and the SO. And these aspects, Your Honor, transmission industry, Your Honor, is really, it's highly technical.
Kanina po, sinabi nyo din, Transco lang ang merong technical capacity, should I say, or resources. And that is why you relied on foreign ownership when it comes to technical part. To enlighten the public, NGCP, are you trying to say na ito pong technical part ng NGCP cannot be provided at all by Filipino citizens?
Your Honor, yung konteksto po ng response ko was that from the beginning, and that nung nagbidding din po nung panahon na yon, nung binid out din po ito ni PISAM, other participants in that bidding is meron din po silang kani-kanilang technical expert who were also foreigner, Mr. Chair. Right? So, kinakonteksto ko lang po, Mr. Chair, na kaya na hanggang ngayon, nagpapatuloy pa rin, Mr. Chair, yung composition ng NGCP.
Let's go back to the
30-40.
time when NGCP was incorporated and applied for a franchise, because that's what you are referring to. You were saying during that time, the only company which has technical capacity is Transco, and the other companies with technical capacity has foreign counterparts as well. Do you confirm that?
Mr. Chair, because transmission,
Please answer the question, NGCP.
yes, I confirm.
And with that answer, are you trying to say that during that time, hindi kaya ng Filipino citizens to supply the technology or the technical aspect of the NGCP operation?
At that time, Mr. Chair, yes.
At that time, yes. And of course, when you say technology or technical operation, that goes to the heart of the very operation of the NGCP. And you were saying hindi kaya ng mga Pilipino. Tama po ba ito, NGCP? At least during that time.
During the time.
At kung hindi ito kaya ng Pilipino during that time, then it follows during that time, we were solely dependent on our Chinese counterpart who owns the 40%. Yes or no?
Mr. Chair, can I give a context? Because the bid document, Mr. Chair, requires for a technical partner.
Mr. Chair, I'm just following the answer of our resource persons. We go back to 2008. You said during that time, hindi kaya ng mga Filipino. Then it follows that during that time, we are solely dependent to this Chinese corporations and citizens in as far as the operation of NGCP, a public utility corporation, which ownership and operation is protected by no less than the Philippine Constitution.
Mr. Chair, kung sinasabi nating Pilipino, meron yung mga pong employees ni Transco na after na-incorporate na si NGCP at si NGCP na po ang concessionaire, yung ito pong mga employees na technical ng Transco has been assumed. So,
However, Mr.
for
Chair,
purposes-
even considering that they have Filipino employees, of course we understand that the citizenship of the corporation is determined by the extent of ownership of the owners. If the owners' majority are foreigner, then it is a foreign corporation. Otherwise, it is a Filipino corporation. If I may proceed, Mr. Chair. Another important information I came across with is the working group of NGCP. Ano po ba itong working group of NGCP?
Mr. Chair, sorry, I missed like
NGCP working group. Have you come across this?
TWGs, Mr. Chair, but literally working group. I am aware of the technical working group of
All
each
right.
department.
Please allow this representation to continue. Under the working group of NGCP, there are two important officers. One is Chairman Yuan Ming Jun. He is described as acting officer, acting chief technical officer. And another is alternate chairman, Chan Chang Wei. These two play significant role in the evaluation of bids and in making recommendation for the award of contract. May I request the Secretariat to please flash the document of first, Aurora Polanco project. Next is EB Magalona Bacolod project. These are all transmission projects. And third is the document pertaining to the purchase of site of Cebu, Panay, Negros project. Secretariat, please, at least to satisfy the committee that these two Chinese nationals under the working group of NGCP indeed did the evaluation of bids and the recommendation for the award of contract. Do we have the document, Secretariat? While we are waiting for their documents, I wish to add, Mr. Chair, that there's another Chinese national, this time Wen Bo. He is the chief technical officer associated as well with State Grid China Corporation. And he is the one who evaluated and recommended the expansion of Las Piñas Zapote project. I hope the Secretariat can flash all these 4 documents to show to the committee that these Chinese nationals participated, or in fact, they were the one who evaluated the bids submitted and thereafter recommended the award of contract. Considering the information, Mr. Chair, that this representation have relayed already, the chairman is a Chinese national. Other executives, Zhang Yuwang and Xin Juwan, are both Chinese nationals. And then we have this working group of NGCP, Ming Jun, Cheng Wei, and a certain Wen Bo, participating in the evaluation of bids, all Chinese nationals. And NGCP continue to maintain that the managerial and executive officers are Filipino citizens. Mr. Chair, I am prompted to ask for a complete rundown of the remaining key officials of NGCP, which the NGCP representatives, I hope, will provide at the soonest possible time. Mr. Chair. To proceed, Mr. Chair, NGCP, are you aware that the State Grid Corporation of China has its own publication?
I am not aware, Mr. Chair.
Secretariat, kindly flash the publication which says SGCC first time acquired right to run transmission grid outside China. This publication, from the perspective of China, totally rejects the position of the NGCP that the Filipinos are in control of the NGCP. Because as you can see from this publication, it is the SGCC itself which is claiming that for the first time they acquired right to run transmission grid outside China, referring to the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines. May we hear the comment of the NGCP?
Your Honor, this write-up was not written by NGCP. This write-up is...
I understand, but going back to the question, do you still maintain the position that the managerial executive officers are Filipino citizens? Do you still maintain the position that Filipinos are in control of NGCP?
Unequivocally, Your Honor, I maintain that position.
It seems to me that the course have changed already, considering the significant officers who have been participating in the operation of the NGCP, aggravated by that publication coming from one of the major stockholders of the NGCP, that is the State Grid Corporation of China. That is a manifestation, Mr. Chair. To continue, Mr. Chair, NGCP, nasan po ba ang switchboard ninyo? You don't know?
Your Honor, it's a technical term. We have technical people here.
May we
I-
ask the technical people?
Your Honor, definition? May we have a clarification
Yes,
insofar as that term?
may we know, okay, so you're calling in the technical people to help out. Can we have their names and what position do they occupy in the organization? Sino po sila?
Good afternoon. I'm Clark Agustin from the...
Pakilakas lang po.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I'm Clark Agustin from the System Operations. If you're referring to the control
From
system...
what? From what?
System Operations.
He taken his oath, Comsec, please take the oath of the of Mark. Tumayo po kayo.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this congressional inquiry, so help you God? Thank you.
Answer the question, the Honorable Luistro.
Your Honor, if they're referring to the control system, our SCADA system, we have 3 control centers in the different regional grids. We have in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao.
How many switchboard or control system do you have?
1 for each region, ma'am. So
One for
actually,
each region.
We have 3 control
What
centers.
controls the switch or the control system per region? Meron ka pa bang main control that controls all the switch and the control system of all these regions? I believe yes.
Yes, ma'am. We have the control center for each region, and then we have substations for the equipment level control. For the system level control, we use the control centers using our SCADA system.
Where is the system control?
From the control center, ma'am.
Where is the control center?
For Luzon, we have here in Diliman. For Visayas, in Banilad. And in Mindanao, in Cagayan de Oro.
These control systems which you mentioned, they have the capacity to cause the blackout of electricity. Am I correct?
Not to cause a blackout, but to control our transmission assets and
If I want to
substations.
turn off the electricity, I just need to switch off the control system. Am I correct?
1 by 1 per equipment. You
One
can do
by
that.
one.
Yes, ma'am. We can control it remotely.
So, kanina you mentioned about the main control. How many main controls do you have?
We have a control center monitoring and controlling different equipment of the grid.
How many main controls do you have?
So we have a system, pag-control po ma'am, not necessarily, as I get from your question, isang button, wala po siyang ganon. So kasi different parts po ng grid, different assets, different control. So if you want to operate a certain circuit breaker, kailangan mong operate that specific breaker.
But
A
at least
specific feeder, yeah.
if I turn off one of those, did you say assets
Yeah.
of that control system, then the electricity will not work anymore. If I turn off one of the several assets of the main control system, the electricity will not work anymore.
If you intentionally isolate a specific area, that specific area will not have electricity, will not have supply of power for that specific area associated to that equipment.
To simplify, Mr. Chair, that main control that you are talking about is responsible to make the electricity available or otherwise.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, you said that you have main control in Luzon, in Visayas, and Mindanao. My next question is, what is this operational computer in Nanjing?
I'm not aware of that, ma'am.
Operational computer in Nanjing. Nanjing, China, I believe.
I'm not aware of that, ma'am.
Well, based on reports, there is such a thing as operational computer in Nanjing, which is connected to the server in the Philippines that can control the availability of electricity in the country. Can you comment on this?
I'm not aware of that.
Is
Control,
it
yeah.
possible that this information is exclusive to the Chinese counterparts and not shared to the Filipino counterparts?
Based on our configurations of our control center, this cannot be controlled remotely through overseas, not even here, yes, here in
What is your basis for saying that it cannot be controlled remotely? Are you that expert?
Based on my experience and my knowledge, our SCADA system is actually isolated, ma'am. It's not connected in the internet, so you cannot easily control it remotely.
Without
Based
for-
on the design and the architecture.
I understand. With all due respect, but considering that our IT infrastructure, tama ba, is provided by the Chinese counterpart, or should I say, a Chinese corporation, I humbly submit that no matter how knowledgeable Filipino citizens are, the one who created the system no more and no better than the one operating the same. As a general statement, do you agree?
No, ma'am.
Ibig sabihin mo, you're the one using the system of China, mas marami kang alam kesa nag-create ng system?
No, ma'am. As I've said,
This is a
yeah.
general statement, NGCP. It is not my intention to undermine the technical know-how of people from the NGCP, but logically speaking, ang sabi, the creature cannot become higher than its creator. I believe that the one who created knows more and knows better about the system than the one using the system. Do you agree?
I disagree, ma'am. Say for example, bawa meron akong laptop, computer, it's made in the US or in China, that does not mean the manufacturer can remotely use my device. Kung analogy po, ma'am, ang pinag-uusapan.
No, I'm talking about the system as a whole, and considering its use, the use of the system, considering that they were the ones who created it, it is my humble submission that no matter how expert we are, the one who created knows better about the system. That is a manifestation. We respect your position.
Luistro still has the floor. The Honorable Luistro.
Mr. Chair, I came across this NARI, the one which provides the IT infrastructure of NGCP. Does NGCP confirm this? NARI.
Mr. Chair, I am not familiar.
May we place back on board the technical officer of NGCP.
Mr. Clark Agustin, please take the chair of Attorney Malyari.
Do you confirm that the IT infrastructure of NGCP is now NARI?
For the IT, it's not NARI, but we have equipment branded as NARI.
Okay.
Yeah.
Equipment is branded as
Some.
NARI,
Some equipment,
Some.
not all, yes, ma'am.
but you deny that IT infrastructure is NARI.
I'm not sure about the specific brand of our IT. And it's not, I think not supplied by only one brand, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, I wish to remind our resource person that he is testifying under oath. So I hope you are giving truthful information to this committee. I understand that prior to NGCP, the IT infrastructure is SCADA, a Filipino corporation. However, upon the assumption of NGCP, they converted to NARI, which is a Chinese corporation. Now, I wish to ask, what is the reason why you switched from SCADA, a Filipino corporation, to NARI, a Chinese corporation?
Ma'am, I would just like to clarify. IT is different from the SCADA. So, SCADA is our control system. That's our system control and
Do you
data
still have that
acquisition.
ESCADA
Yes,
up
ma'am.
to now?
Yes, ma'am. We have a SCADA. Yes.
Are you still using ESCADA?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, all power utilities uses SCADA to control their power system.
If ESCADA has this capacity,
Opo, SCADA stands for System Control and Data Acquisition. You use it to monitor and control the power system in the case of NGCP.
and you're still using that,
Yes, ma'am. We need the SCADA to control our power system.
then why resort to other Chinese corporations if ESCADA has the capacity to provide the necessary technical aspect of the NGCP corporation?
The
Why
is-
resort to NARI if ESCADA is still dependable?
Ma'am, our SCADA is just the tool. It's the system we use to control the power grid. So
How about NARI?
actually the brand of our SCADA as of now is
Mr. Chair,
NARI.
just a point of information para lang magkaintindihan. Hindi sila nagkaintindihan eh.
If you will shed clarification,
Yes.
okay, you're acknowledged.
As a point of information, Mr. Chair, yung SCADA, ginagamit yun lahat sa mga public utilities, either distribution or transmission. Ang ibig sabihin lang ng SCADA, yung sinabi kanina, yung sistema. Pero yung mga mga equipment, pwede namang iba-ibang brand yun. SCADA is not a brand. It is a system of control. So, kung halimbawa, ikaw yung chairman ngayon, ikaw yung SCADA, ikaw nagko-control ng dito. But we can use different brand of equipments. So, yun lang yun. It is not a brand. It is a system, control system.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Dago. The Honorable Jinky.
Mr. Chair, I acknowledge that we are dealing with a very technical matter. So, to give opportunity to people who are not endowed with technical know-how, I wish to suggest, Mr. Chair, that we conduct an ocular inspection of the NGCP IT infrastructure, including the system, and perhaps we can invite experts to guide the committee members in evaluating whether this system are the one which really are in main control of the operation of the NGCP, one which is Chinese-owned, or just equipments being used by Filipino citizens. That is a recommendation, a suggestion, Mr. Chair, from this humble representation.
Noted. We will make the representation for us to be able to make an ocular.
Mr. Chair, I wish to conclude on this point as my other questions has something to do with NARI, which information that I have is the IT infrastructure of NGCP. And with that, Mr. Chair, I wish to make this final manifestation that with all due respect to our esteemed colleagues and our resource persons, but it is indeed my humble submission that while we, in the face of the general information sheet of NGCP, only 40% is Chinese-owned, considering, however, the presence of Chinese citizens, one as chairman, the other two as evaluators of bid, the other one as chief technical officer, and NARI, which I believe is Chinese IT infrastructure. It is my humble submission, Mr. Chair, that it seems that the control over the NGCP has been compromised already in favor of foreign nationals. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The Honorable Jinky Luistro. The chair recognizes